The earliest possible time that I can say that I was interested in exotic cars, I was working for a Nash dealership in '52 and '53, and they brought in a Nash Healey. And the Nash Healey
I remember
was
those cars.
a car of three countries. You know, the body was made by Pininfarina, the chassis was made in Italy, and the engine was an American
Motor,
you know, and it came in off the truck, and I was the new car prep person, and I prepped the Nashes, and we used to align the doors by putting a 2x4 in there and kind of creak the door and make it fit, and the little Nash Healey came into my stall, and I was just amazed at the quality of the construction of the body, where all the gaps around the doors were like 3 millimeters, and I didn't have to do anything to the car. The car was ready to sell the way it was, and it just got to me. The car at that time impressed me. I was probably making $2,500 a year, and the car was $6,300. And I said, this car is for really, really rich people.
a lot of money.
And didn't realize till later that there were some people out there that could afford that kind of car. But that got me into the first idea of exotic cars. However, during that time, I also was racing on the drag strip with hot rods. I was really still a hot rod guy. And I built a couple of 32 Ford hot rods with Chevy motors in them and I was still into that hot rod type of thinking until one of my buddies, a couple of my buddies, came in with a Triumph and an MG TF, and I said, silly little cars, and I said, they don't have any, they only have 4 cylinders, and I have 8 cylinders, you know, why would you? Well, it turns out, if you look at them, and their fathers brought them over from after the war, and,
World War II.
and they gave them to their kids, and they brought them into my little gas station shop, and I started to get interested in that they were made of different quality, you know, and so that really was my first love with what we call import cars. We got started in the, quote, exotic car business with Triumph, MG, Jaguar, and then Austin Mini Mokes, Austin Healey's, all this British stuff, you know. And there was really no one in Chicago selling that type of thing. And the only reason why I really got into business is because we were really a service station for import cars by that time, and early on, servicing Triumphs and MGs and that. And the Triumph Motor Car Company came out to see me, and they said, would you like to be an official warranty station for Triumph cars? Because we don't have anybody that is selling the cars, like a Ford dealer or something. They really don't know what the customer's solutions are to their problems. And I said, sure, we would do that, and then we would make out a claim for a customer that would have a problem with it. We'd fix it, send a claim, we'd get paid, and that was now an official garage instead of an alley garage. And so you got interested in it because that was what you were doing. But I think at that time, when you say, what was your first car that you collected? Well, if you were dealing in all those British cars, the only one that you didn't have was Rolls-Royce, you know, and Bentley. And I said, someday I'd like to be a Rolls-Royce dealer.
Dealership.
The cherry on top of the cake, you know. And so I called Rolls-Royce every 6 months and asked them if they wanted a dealer, and they said no. And then in 72 or 73, they called me, and they had like 100 Rolls-Royces in the warehouse, and they ran into some sort of small recession, and they didn't have their dealers to take, and they said, would you still want to be a Rolls-Royce dealer? I said, yes. So I bought 2 cars and became a Rolls-Royce dealer. You know, they came to me. So that was kind of my ambition to do that, and I thought, well, I had made it. I have the cherry now on the top of the sundae, and I have all these British cars. And then what happened was that British cars went out of business. You know, Triumph fell by the wayside, MG fell by the wayside, Austins are gone, everything was gone, and Jaguar was hanging on by its fingernails. And I thought, well, gee, we better change our allegiances here, and because we had just freshly built a building to house these cars, and so we started to inquire about Italian cars. So those were added in there, and as these others fell apart, why we still had Toyota in there, and Toyota was kind of a minor player at that time. We really loved our sports cars, but in '73 or '4 we had an oil embargo.
I remember.
And we became famous by Friday because everybody wanted to buy a Toyota because they didn't want to drive a Buick or some gas guzzler. And we sold all of our Toyotas overnight, and we all of a sudden we were, as I said, famous by Friday. Not something we did; it was something the government did that opened up a fork in the road for us to pursue Toyota, which now we have one of the 3 largest stores in Chicago, and we're the oldest Toyota dealer in Chicago.